Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to the League Zero Racing Series, the premier Formula iRacing League. Today we're at Okayama International for the Japanese Grand Prix, and drivers are just finishing up qualifying. As always, I'm your host, James East, with Team Goon Squad Broadcasting, bringing the action in 1080p, 60 frames a second, as we get ready to roll them out onto the grid. Let's go ahead and take a look. Drivers starting to get out on track. Let's run through the starting order for the day. Ray Aguilar starting on pole. Reed Gibson starting second. Jaden Calloway starting third. Nick Peterson starts fourth. Antonio Bianchi starting fifth. Michael Fairchild starting sixth. AJ Brenner starting seventh. Gareth McAllister starting eighth. Ryan Tebow starting ninth. Craig Brick starting 10th. Leo Dalma starting 11th. Peter Rettinger starts 12th. Cycling it on back to Carl Hartwell starting 13th, Shazi Zuhair starting 14th, Ben Depew starting 15th, Willie Morris starting 16th, Nathan Annam starting 17th, Chase Meyer starts 18th, Devin Hughes starting 19th, Chase Small starting 20th, and David Schmidt will round out the 21-car grid here today. Let us know where you're from, who you're cheering for. Drivers will frequently have the broadcast pulled up on a separate device. If not, they just about always go back and watch this thing over. As we're waiting on a few more drivers to make their way out. Waiting on Aguilar, Bricks, and Small. There's Aguilar, so still waiting on Brick and Small. So in 2 weekends, 4 races, we've had 4 different winners so far here at League Zero. Finley Fitzsimmons, Ray Aguilar, Reed Gibson, Jaden Calloway all have wins to their name. Coming into tonight, Brenner with Squid Gang Racing. He's in the top spot in the points championship. Jaden Calloway, his teammate, sits in second. We're still waiting for Chase Small to make his way out onto the grid before we fire things up here tonight. We got Jay Valvano, hopefully I said that right, cheering on Carl Hartwell. And here we go, the lights get ready to come on. And we are underway. The start looks fairly good. You already see some drivers having to wiggle around there. And we're going to have problems very early on. Jaden Calloway is going to sneak through the field. That was Ray Aguilar. A huge hit. It looks like the crashes just keep coming. Trying to see if maybe we're going to have a safety car deployed here. Not seeing it. And Jaden Calloway is going to grab 2 spots the easy way. And let's go ahead and get the old replay machine fired up. Ray Aguilar is definitely going to be involved in that one. I think that was Aguilar, Reed, and Reed Gibson coming together, but Shazi Zuhair also tied up in that one. Zuhair unfortunately takes a tow back to pit road, so Jaden Calloway is going to get a bit of a break there. Alex Rhodes hopping in, cheering on Zuhair, who unfortunately is forced into an early retirement in this feature event. Now Zuhair can get back out on track for the sprint race to follow, but that is not what the Canadian driver in the number 10 machine was looking for here. Now AJ Brenner sitting in second, Antonio Bianchi third, but we're focused in on Nick Peterson's number 24 machine. Putting the pressure on Bianchi, a long-time rivalry between those two drivers. We've got Rita cheering on Carl Hartwell as well. Hartwell has gained 6 positions, now sitting 7th on track. Now Okayama, a very small track, is a big bobble there from Antonio Bianchi. A very small track for these Super Formula machines to navigate. And in practice, we saw lap times and qualifying as well. Drivers dipping down to a 1 minute 12-second lap time. So this could be a very quick race if we do not have the caution coming out. Now, not including stops, we're expecting this to be about a 38-minute race. And as a reminder to the fans here, drivers must come down pit road once for the mandatory tire stop. They are good to make it till the end on fuel. We've got our good friend Eric Box joining the broadcast, doing the opposite of cheering on Antonio Bianchi, a little bit of smack talking from some of the spectators. Jaden Calloway's pulled a 1.4 second gap over Brenner. Brenner 1.5 up over Bianchi. As now we're going to start to see the lap times decrease. Brenner, our current points leader, he's got his teammate ahead of him, but also behind him in the points championship. So going to be interesting to see just how hard those two teammates push here in the feature. We have another off track. This time it's showing Peter Rettinger. We see the smoke. There he is, trying to get things fired up, waiting for some clean track. So very wise there, keeping the carnage away from him. We focus in on Carl Hartwell, running 7th in the 79, up 6 spots. He's being chased by the world-famous Australian Gareth McAllister. And seems like for the most part, drivers kind of getting in a groove here. The last week at Red Bull Ring, not a very good race, especially the sprint, where we saw all sorts of drivers having big issues. But so far, and we don't want to hit it with a commentator's curse, things are a lot better here at Okayama. Still focusing on that battle for 7th, Carl Hartwell versus Gareth McAllister. Oh, a big blink there from McAllister. Has to be careful on that number 25 machine to make sure the connection is good and consistent before he starts sticking the nose in on that machine, trying to find a way through. But here we go. McAllister pulls up alongside Hartwell in the battle for 7th. And McAllister is going to make it stick nice and clean. Hartwell is going to lose 1 position, falling back into 8th. Another battle we have shaping up on track as we go onboard Jace Meyer. That is David Schmidt in 12th, Devin Hughes in 11th right ahead. Oh, but we hear another crash report. This time it's going to be Ben Depew involved in some sort of incident. Started with an off track that then got a little bit out of sorts. It looks like it's going to be a solo incident down here in the left-hander. Oh, the car gets a little bit loose, snaps around. And Ben Depew finds himself facing the wrong way. We got Alex Rhodes cheering on me at this point now that his favorite driver, Shazi Zuhair, out of the race. Now, we did get a report that Ray Aguilar was able to get through pit road, got some repairs done on that number 1 machine. A little uncharacteristic seeing Aguilar running number 1, even though he is the defending champion. Ben Depew has made it down pit road under his own power. Willie Morris back out on track after an opening lap of shenanigans. And Jaden Calloway out front, clicking off laps, making it look easy here, has pulled a 2.7 second advantage over teammate and points leader AJ Brenner. But now it's like a little bit of lap traffic on the horizon for Calloway. I think that may be Aguilar in the number 1 machine. Aguilar running 17th out on track, down 16 positions after qualifying the top spot and having a lap 1, turn 1 tragic opening. Unfortunately for Aguilar, I believe he's about 20 seconds back from his nearest competition. No, excuse me, 11 seconds. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, 10, almost 11 seconds back. And he does make way for Jaden Calloway, so Aguilar can't be feeling too good in that machine right now, getting the damages repaired. There's AJ Brenner, the points leader. He's 2.2 seconds back. Let's call it 2 1/4. Back from Jaden Calloway, and Antonio Bianchi sitting in third, 1.7 seconds back. Now, Bianchi's been having a great season so far. Something has really clicked in this Super Formula machine for him. But you can see just behind his old rival, I'm going to interrupt myself, is Michael Fairchild. Involved in an incident. Narrowly avoids pulling back onto the hot track. Let's see what happened to Fairchild, if that was a solo incident or if he gets a little bit of help in that number 88 machine. Just loses traction all on his lonesome. Now, while that was happening, Willie Morris also showed involved in an incident. And it's going to be a separate incident. I thought the two may have been involved somehow together. Let's see what happened to Morris in the number 46. Just loses the car. Around he goes. Now Fairchild, losing 7 spots, has fallen all the way back to the 13th place position. And more crash reports getting fired off here. This time David Schmidt, in a very precarious position, is able to get it pointed the right direction. But man, the replay machine getting worn out here at Okayama. And the same deal, just kind of loops the car out and finds himself searching for traction that does not exist. So far, not as much of a race of attrition as we were expecting. As Eric Fox said, we were expecting a bit of a barn burner. Now, we still have time to crash plenty of cars throughout the night, especially with the sprint race to follow here this evening. But Jaden Calloway putting on a clinic, feeling really strong in the 37. He's up 2 positions from where he qualified, as he clicks off a 1:13.55. That is tied for his fastest lap of the race. I believe that's also tied for the fastest lap of the race. So Calloway feeling very good here with the clean air on that front wing of the 37. We only had 3 Hondas enter this Super Formula machine. This now has multiple car types out on track, I should say. All fall under the Super Formula category, but we do have Toyotas, a predominantly Toyota field, as well as the new Hondas. That's going to be driven by David Schmidt, Reed Gibson, and Craig Burke, the only lone Hondas out on track. Oh, a big blink there from Calloway. It's the last thing he wants. And while this is going on, we've got a race shaping up for, it's going to be a 3-car battle for 10th. You've got Fairchild, Annam, and Meyer, 10th, 11th, and 12th. We know Fairchild has great pace. He had that big incident and having to work back through the field at this point. But both Annam and Meyer are up 6 positions, so we could very well have something shaping up. Now, we're not quite to the halfway mark here this evening. It's going to be interesting to see what the tire strategy is for these drivers as well when they opt to come down pit road and take that mandatory tire stop. Again, fuel no issue for these drivers. As we check back in on race leader Jaden Calloway, that's a very large gap, 2.9 seconds back to AJ Brenner. Oh, and we just got a report as well. Jace Meyer did pull off that pass against Nathan Annam in the battle for 11, so let's see. Oh, Annam takes a peek up to the inside line, heavy on the brakes, and unfortunately something has happened to Craig Burke where he is going to retire from this main event. Let's take a look and see what happened. A beautiful painted number 7 Honda. Little bit too much curbing and just lawn darts it in the inside wall. And he takes a tow and opts to retire out of this feature event. So the list of drivers forced into an early retirement starting to increase. Craig Burke, Willie Morris, Devin Hughes, Sazi Zuhair, all taking a tow back. Now Chase Small was AD and did not start. So if I'm doing my quick broadcast booth math right, I believe that puts us with 16 of the 21 entries out on track. Now keep an eye on this as well. Reed Gibson, involved in that turn 1 lap 1 incident, just set the fastest lap of the race with a 1:13.35, so he must have been very fortunate not to have too much damage on that number 11 machine, as I think that was David Schmidt who just had a big lockup ahead of him. Yes, Gibson's going to grab another spot. Now his race and his night is not over here. Gibson surely remembers the top 12 is an inverted grid for the sprint race. So if he can find time and track down Peter Renscher, who's got a 3.3 second advantage, if Gibson finishes 12th, he'll start on pole position for the sprint race to follow. And another crash report. This time I believe it's going to be Willie Morris, who's having a very rough go in the 46. Looks like it's going to be another solo incident. Let's see what happens if we can maybe break it down. And Eric Fox said in the spectator area as well, drivers throughout the run will be closing or adjusting their brake bias. But oh, we've got another crash report. This time it's the points leader, AJ Brenner. What happened here? It looked like the exact same spot that Willie Morris had an incident. Yeah, just loops the car out, around he goes. And Brenner's going to fall all the way back to 4th. That's going to put Nick Peterson in podium contention. That number 24 now sitting 3rd. And while that's been going on, McAllister and Tebow starting to close the gap to each other, as well as now they're catching up to Brenner after his off-track misfortune. McAllister had that gap to Tebow to within, I believe, is about 0.4 of a second. Tebow gained about 0.4 back, pulling about, oh, you can see the push to pass activated there by Tebow. Stretches that gap back to 0.9 in his favor. And you can see Tebow trying to break that draft against McAllister. McAllister right there in the hunt, though. Going to be interesting to see if McAllister can close that 3/4 of a second advantage that Tebow has, but it's going to be tough if he keeps blinking in and out like that. And meanwhile, Reed Gibson has indeed moved his way up into 12th. Peter Renscher is going to come down pit road for what I would believe is going to be the first scheduled green flag stop, the one and only green flag stop out of these drivers. The Rettinger will be the first down to get those tires replaced on the 44. And it looks to me like McAllister is putting the hammer down within 0.3 of Tebow. Tebow always has some great painted cars here at League Zero, but man, McAllister's connection issues cannot be doing him any favors. It's going to be interesting as they go side by side into turn one. Oh, who's it going to be here? It's too tight to call. Tebow's going to be on the right side of your screen, holding on to the 5th place spot, but McAllister hunting for an inside line to open up, just not having any luck here. Ben Depew, he takes a tow back to pit road, so he's going to be done and out of this one, that number 19 machine. Carl Hartwell, who's getting a whole lot of love from the fans, he's all the way up into 7th now. And here we go, side by side is Tebow and McAllister. Tebow guards the inside line, a bit of a lock up there from McAllister, hard on the brakes. We've got some great racing going on as Tebow is trying everything he can do to fend off the young Aussie in the battle for 5th. Now Tebow's up 4 spots. McAllister has gained 2 over the run so far, but this could very well become a game of push to pass. But Tebow's going to try and keep him at bay into turn 1. McAllister getting a little love from the fans as well. Carl Hartwell coming down pit road for his scheduled stop just before the halfway mark. And McAllister just looking for everything. Now, while this battle's going on, AJ Brenner has pulled back an advantage. He is now 6 seconds ahead of this battle for 5th, and looks like Brenner closing the gap, or at least was briefly. Oh, that's why Brenner's coming down pit road for his green flag stop. He was catching up to Nick Peterson there. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the green flag stops will cycle through. As Tebow and McAllister with the swerving back and forth, they're having a great race between each other, but not doing themselves any favors as far as raw pace goes. And I just heard something terrific happen. Oh, it's going to be a huge incident. Gareth McAllister, David Schmidt involved in that. Is going to bring out the safety car. What just happened? We're focusing on McAllister here, the number 25. Didn't even see David Schmidt ahead of him. Oh my goodness. Well, there's your problem right there. So it's going to start with David Schmidt. Oh, let's back it up. So Schmidt's going to be involved in a solo incident. Loses the back end. Around goes Schmidt. And he is parked on the racing surface, a blind corner. Pulls back out on track. Misses. Waits. He thinks he has clean track. Pulls out. And just stops on the racing surface. And then McAllister, I mean, just absolutely rips that car apart. Hold on, we'll see if we can get that once more and maybe a slow-mo, because that's going to be absolutely violent. I mean, David Schmidt's car got to shreds, they say. So let's see. if we can find David Schmidt. So there we go. Parked on the track in the number 54 machine. And this is going to be interesting. Some drivers have already boxed, so this is going to upset the pit cycle as well. Let's see if we can get it a little bit speed up. And ladies and gentlemen, we have liftoff as both McAllister and Schmidt's cars obliterating that incident. It's Honda versus Toyota. Nobody wins. And that is probably one of the most spectacular crashes we have seen so far on these Super Formula machines. So this is going to be very interesting. A caution has come out. We are past the halfway mark. Some drivers have already pit cycled through. Carl Hartwell, Peter Rettinger, and AJ Brenner have already boxed. Now, while we are under safety car, we also got to report that Carl Hartwell had an off-track excursion. Now, last week at Red Bull Ring, we saw a couple people run out of talent, if you will, during pacing. Thankfully, there was no other drivers involved in that one. And it looks like we're going to get things sorted out here. So safety car currently deployed. Jaden Calloway is going to come down pit road. Interesting. Bianchi's going to stay out. No, I take that back. Antonio Bianchi, Nick Peterson, Michael Fairchild, Jace Meyer, Nathan Annam. So I'm a little intrigued to see why anybody would stay out at this point. I would think now would be the time to come through and cycle through pit road, but Ryan Tebow, Leo Delmas is going to stay out. AJ Brenner is, but that was an easy guess. He's already completed his one pit stop requiring the tire change. So it's going to be interesting. We say in oval racing all the time that cautions breed cautions. Going to be interesting to see how this shapes up here at Okayama, as I believe Ray Aguilar an extended stay on pit road under the caution, trying to get repairs done. But that's going to be only 14 drivers out on track, assuming Aguilar is able to rejoin the surface. McAllister and David Schmidt absolutely done. They're going to be feeling that one for weeks. As we're going to run behind safety car a little bit longer. So Aguilar was able to get back out on track. Let's see how much repairs were done to that number one machine, if he's going to be a tad bit more competitive. And Ryan Tebow is going to lead the field as the safety car comes down pit road. Now, Tebow and Delmas, first and second, have yet to come down pit road. Surely there may be thinking there's going to be another caution because A.J. Brenner in third is going to be charging through the field. This caution worked out extremely well for the number 80 machine. So very quickly, at first it looked like Brenner was just going to be battling for a podium. Now he has a good chance of battling for the lead. Now Nathan Annam was involved in an incident, takes a tow back to pit road. Here comes Reed Gibson. He's going to put the pressure on Brenner now. Gibson came down pit road on lap 2. Did he take tires is the question. Because if so, Gibson might be in an extremely good spot here. As we see more problems, it was Carl Hartwell, Antonio Bianchi facing the wrong way. Was there contact between the two? Oh, it looked like Bianchi was out of sorts, and maybe Hartwell tried to take avoided evasive maneuvers. So Reed Gibson in third wants to put a gap on A.J. Brenner. If Gibson took tires during the lap 2 pit stop, he is in an extremely good spot here. Jace Meyer, unfortunately, is going to crash out, take a tow to pit road. As we're focusing on Leo Delmas' number 21 machine. Again, I can't figure out why Tebow and Delmas would not have taken tires under caution. It says, or at least implies in the rulebook and what I've heard from race control, I mean, that absolutely counts for your mandatory tire change. Now this is interesting as well, with so many drivers dropping out. Ray Aguilar currently 12th out on track. That's going to put him in pole position for the sprint race if he can hold on to that spot. And as I say that, look at the huge send from Reed Gibson up the inside line of Delmas. Now this is important for Gibson because he knows Tebow and Delmas both have to come down pit road in the next 10 laps to avoid disqualification for not taking the tires. So that would put the battle for the lead be between Gibson and Brenner. Gibson currently about 1.7 seconds up from that number 80 machine who's sitting back and forth. And Gibson continuing the charge. He's tracking down Ryan Tebow in first. Now Gibson qualified in second. We know he has the pace, but we thought his night was over after the lap 1, turn 1 incident. And I'm also curious to see as well how possible penalties may play a factor into this. Because I don't know enough about the race control procedures. But if for some reason Gibson was found at fault, it could be a +5 or +10 second penalty. Now he's got almost a 3-second margin over Brenner. So if Gibson could somehow put himself at least in a 5-second buffer over the current points leader, he would technically still be able to bring home a win here. And I think Brenner's going to have his hands full. He's battling side by side with Leo Delmas. You can also see Jaden Calloway, but while that's going on, Gibson's taking over the race lead from Tebow. And Brenner's going to do a mirror move, taking over the third place spot ahead of Calloway. No, excuse me, of Delmas. So Calloway able to slide through there as well. 9 laps left to go in this feature event. Now it's going to be very interesting to see, when does Tebow, when does Delmas finally come down pit road? Gibson is just about 3.9, almost 4 seconds ahead of AJ Brenner. If he can sneak home a win here, and I think he's gonna get a little bit of help, as Jaden Calloway is taking over the third place spot from his teammate. Calloway came in on lap 18, Brenner on lap 16. And again, we're all wondering if Gibson's going to get a penalty after that opening lap. It could go either way. Again, I'm not race control. But if he's fearing a possible penalty, then he needs at least a 5-second margin over AJ Brenner. And I think he just about has it, as Brenner falling off the pace here. Now 5.8 seconds back from Reed Gibson. So I've seen mostly, if penalties are a factor, I've seen 5 seconds and 10 seconds assigned to drivers depending on the incident. Of course, race control tonight is going to be served by Mr. Joseph Penn. And I did look up previous penalties. Causing a collision can give a 10-second time penalty and 1 point to the license. So if Gibson's at all worried about that, I think he's going to hammer down. He's got a 6.1 second gap over AJ Brenner, only a 2.8 second gap over Ryan Tebow. So Gibson is thinking about points. He came into tonight third in points, 1 point behind Callaway and 15 points behind AJ Brenner. And it seems like Gibson's just rocking and rolling in cruise control. Last time by a 1:13.14. His fastest lap of the race was a 1:12.82. Reed Gibson putting on a clinic here. Ernest Small's giving a shout out to Carl Hartwell. He's up 4 spots, sitting in 9th. Hartwell having a good race. Had to overcome a little bit of adversity here at Okayama, but still holding on to it well. And I mean, in a race where we've seen so many drivers forced into an early retirement, that is an accomplishment in and of itself. As currently, we only have 12 drivers out on track, a little over half the field that entered here tonight of the Japanese Grand Prix. And it looks like Jaden Calloway is starting to catch up to Ryan Tebow. A half second separating the second and third place driver. A bit of a blink there from Callaway. Tebow running well. He's got good, strong pace, but he still has to come down pit road for tires. I think with only 12 drivers out on track, he would be remiss to hope for a safety car to be deployed. Surely Tebow knows about the tire change rule. Race Control issued a press release earlier this week for the drivers for a little bit of clarification on that rule on what laps they can or cannot come down pit road. On board with Jaden Calloway's 37 machine. But it is the lone Honda. The only Honda left on track, Reed Gibson, the number 11. I like to call him the double one machine, out front in a field of Toyotas that are still surviving. And I've got to say, these are some of my favorite cars in the service to listen to the onboards. Let me just let you guys listen to this for a couple corners. The D-cell sounds amazing in these machines. And Callaway doing everything he can to catch up to the back of Ryan Tebow. You could just see AJ Brenner in the background. He was using the push-to-pass to close that distance. We've only got a few short laps left here, and Tebow just refusing to come down pit road. I'm sure his crew is on the radio, even holding out a manual pit board at this point, reminding him about the tire change. And that's got to be frustrating for Callaway as well if he thinks he has the pace but knows the driver in front of him needs to come down pit road. How hard do you push? Hard is the answer as Callaway throws it up the inside line of Tebow and starts to check out in that second place gap. But how much did that battle maybe slow up Callaway? He's 6 seconds back from Reed Gibson. So this is going to be interesting. We're still waiting for Tebow to come down pit road. Just refuses to box, it seems. Has to pit next time by to avoid getting disqualified from this event. And Reed Gibson just clicking off laps in the number 11 machine. May have had the accidental strategy of the year coming down pit road on lap 2 after heavy damage. And you can see the micro lockup on that front tire, the front wheel of the number 11 machine. So he is very hard on the brakes. These drivers will be playing with brake bias throughout the event. AJ Brenner has taken over the third place spot as Ryan Tebow finally comes down pit road to avoid a disqualification. He is definitely the last driver out on track to come down pit road. That's going to make your top 3 Gibson, Callaway, and Brenner as it stands, with Michael Fairchild, Nick Peterson rounding out the top 5. And what a comeback story for Reed Gibson. No small miracle he was able to catch that safety car at the right time after already completing his pit stop. As we get ready to unfurl the white flag at the start-finish line straight here at Okayama. White flag is out for Reed Gibson. He is on the push to pass. using it all up before this thing's all said and done. Now, here at Okayama, not a lot of long straights to really utilize it. So he's going to be holding the button down, I would think, as you can start to see it flash red, reaching the time limit. It's got a brief recharge, and drivers only have 200 seconds of push to pass to use during this race. And something has happened to Ryan Tebow. He comes back down pit road for the second time. Wonder if he got a pit road violation, and he's going to lose the 8th place spot to Carl Hartwell. Gibson has used up all of that push to pass. And he's going to bring it home the last quarter of a lap here at Okayama. And Reed Gibson is going to make it the only driver to 2 wins of his name so far this season. And sets the fastest lap of the race while doing so. Jaden Calloway getting 2nd. And AJ Brenner will get 3rd. As they do a little bit of celebratory crash shenanigans. So we're going to get these drivers up here to victory lane. And we'll have a brief intermission before we send them right back out for the sprint race. We've got Callaway. We're waiting on Brenner and Gibson at this point. And again, once we get these top 3 up here for the interviews, we'll have a brief intermission, send them right back out for the sprint race. It has half the laps and twice the action. Well, let's get things started with Mr. AJ Brenner bringing it home in 3rd. AJ, what a race. We had weird cautions, we had different strategies, and a lot of fast drivers on a very small track here at the Japanese Grand Prix.
Yeah, it was an interesting one. I got a good start and tried a new pedal configuration, so it was a bit challenging trying to get used to that mid-race, but had some decent pace, and safety car was a little bit unexpected, so it kind of added a twist in there.
Yeah, AJ, we saw you throughout the weekend, the new pedals dialed in. How tough is that to come out to a small track like this and have a new piece of hardware where the muscle memory is a little bit different than what you're used to?
You know, it was pretty challenging. I did my last little setting change about 45 minutes before the first race started, so I was still getting used to it during the qualifying session. So just trying to do as best I could and ended up with a decent result. So pretty happy with that.
Seems like it's pretty dialed in. AJ, before we let you go, get ready for the sprint race, who do you want to give a shout to that helped you bring home 3rd here today?
I'm going to give a shout out to my fiance Faith, as always.
Oh, very well said, AJ. A pleasure having you up here. Hope to have you back out for the sprint, and congratulations on 3rd.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. That was AJ Brenner bringing it home in 3rd. Up next, Mr. Jaden Calloway, the number 37 machine. Jaden, welcome back. A great race. A lot of carnage, but able to bring home in a great points night for you as well.
Yeah, it was a good race overall. Really didn't make any mistakes, not like last week. We just got a bit unlucky with the safety car, but it was still good.
Yeah, definitely poor timing for several drivers when that thing was deployed, but I guess that's racing at the end of the day. But we've seen you get faster and faster, more and more consistent. What has been the trick here to your success lately?
There's really no trick. It's just practice time, just getting laps in consistently.
Well, it sounds easier than it is, and I guess the next question is, Jaden, after last week's shenanigans at Red Bull Ring, what are your expectations for this sprint race to follow here this evening?
Just try to survive, get a clean start, and hopefully make up some positions.
Well, awesome. We look forward to watching you do it. Jaden, before I let you go, who do you want to give a shout to that helped you bring home 2nd here this evening?
As always, my friends and family supporting me, my team, Squid Gang Racing, and my teammate, AJ.
Awesome. Jaden, always a pleasure, bud, and hope to have you back up here after the sprint.
Hope to be here.
That was Jaden Calloway bringing it home in 2nd. But up next, the man, the myth, the legend, Reed Gibson, welcome back to the top spot. First driver to grab 2 wins so far this season. And I would like to say that you planned the whole thing. You crashed on lap 1, you came down pit road, got your tires out, and then paid race control to throw the caution at the right moment. But I don't think that's actually how it went down here today.
No, I mean, I was driving kind of like a pissed off teenager because I felt like I was unfairly squeezed on lap 1. And, once I realized that my wing was gone, I, remember, luckily I had a cool head. I remembered the rules, and I was able to do, 2 laps without a front wing at a reasonable pace, and just got the wing change and just said, screw it. I'm going to run in free air as fast as I can. And I was expecting, maybe a low points finish, but that safety car just came at the right time. And when opportunity arises, you got to be ready to strike. And I just had more pace, so it all really worked out. I think it was equal parts preparation than just a small dash of luck. Well,
Yeah, you couldn't ask for a better timed safety car to throw things back in your favor after the pit cycles weren't even really started for most of the field yet. So excellent timing with the iRacing gods being on your side. But even then, early on the race, after you got the wing thrown back on, we were seeing some fast laps of the race from you. And I mean, we know you're absolutely lethal when you have clean air. So I guess a little bit of red mist is the magic combo to see some really fast laps out of you in that number 11.
Yeah, no, I figured, with the first lap incident, I figured there was a non-zero chance of another. So I was going to give myself some clean air and try to make up time when everybody else is fighting. And I think my theory worked. Normally I would have wanted to save the tires, but I figured I have way less to lose, so I'm going to see if I can stretch these things all the way to the end. And they held on, so they were definitely getting a little skatey by the end, but the low fuel made it doable.
Well, a lot of fun watching you absolutely send it. I'm sure the sprint race is going to be exciting as well. Reed, before I let you sign off, get ready. Who do you want to give a shout to that helps you bring home the top spot in tonight's feature event?
Oh man, shout out to the pit commentator from Ricky Bobby, because I just kept imagining him yelling at me like, "Don't drive like an idiot, bring the car home." So that one was all me. I'm gonna take full credit for that one.
Awesome, Reed. Congratulations, buddy. Hope to have you up here following the sprint. A lot of fun watching that race unfold.
All right, thanks, James.
Thank you, sir. That was Reed Gibson bringing it home in the top spot of the feature event. He was accompanied by the 2 teammates, Jaden Calloway and AJ Brenner. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more action, half the laps here at the League Zero Super Formula Series Sprint Race. All right, race fans, welcome back. The final sprint race to cap off this Japanese Grand Prix. We've got an inverted top 12, half the laps, and a whole lot of action. Starting on pole, Willie Morris, the number 46. Ray Aguilar will be starting second. Ryan Tebow starting third. Leo Delma starting fourth. Carl Hartwell starting fifth. Antonio Bianchi starting sixth. Peter Rettinger starts seventh. Nick Peterson starting eighth. Michael Fairchild starting ninth. AJ Brenner starting 10th. Jaden Calloway starting 11th. And Reed Gibson will round out that inverted top 12 field. Now, we heard that a few drivers would not be making it back out on track, so let's see how this one shakes down and who's going to be able to make their way through this. Now, Red Bull Ring, we saw about 6 drivers finish the sprint race. Hopefully, things will be a little bit cleaner here today, as we're going to miss Nathan Annam, Gareth McAllister, David Schmidt, Chase Small, as the lights go off and we are green flag racing. Already seeing some drivers bobbing and weaving back there. Looks like the field fairly well sorted through turn 1. We're focusing on Peter Rettinger in the 44. But look right ahead, that's Antonio Bianchi. And I believe that was Leo Delma. Similar painted cars, not teammates, as Bianchi is going to push it too wide off track. Throws it away, so Delmas is going to move up into third. Peter Rettinger also involved in an incident. Oh, absolutely obliterated the car. Hopefully he didn't get involved with Bianchi. Oh, I see some 3 wide there. Oh, I think Rettinger lost it. I believe that was Ben Depew. And while this is going on, Carl Hartwell, who's getting all sorts of love from the fans, is involved in a race-ending incident. What happened to the 79 here? Oh, gets maybe a little bit of help there. Backs out of the racetrack and then takes a tow. So gutting for Hartwell, who is running so well. So both Peter Rettinger and Carl Hartwell are going to be done and out of this one. Now, I see Craig Burke, I believe, shows up on the in his pit stall. So he might be making his way out on track. Ray Aguilar, this is where he's very, very comfortable. So let's check the interval screen. Aguilar has just about a 3-second gap over Willie Morris. Morris looks to be about 2 seconds up over Nick Peterson. But behind Peterson, you've got Ryan Tebow, Leo Dalmas. And I was going to say a lot of fast guys, but we're seeing bodywork everywhere. Who is that? Was that Shazi Zuhair missing most of the parts on the front of that car? That incident started with Jace Meyer and Ben Depew, I believe. And I think Zuhair might have come barreling in, as well as Antonio Bianchi. Oh, Zuhair tags the back of Depew. And I believe that's going to be Bianchi missing his front wing. Let's see if we can get a... Yeah, Bianchi's in trouble here, the number 17. Hopefully he can come down pit road, get a new one clipped back on, because he's got absolutely no front downforce. There's been Depew, who I believe was also tied up in that incident. Shazi Zuhair takes a tow. I'm not sure if he's going to be returning to the circuit or not. And I also saw, I believe that's a wounded Jace Meyer in the background. I will say Meyer's car looks a lot healthier than Bianchi's does, but Ryan Tebow has taken over P3 from Nick Peterson and looks to be catching Willie Morris in the 46 machine. Tebow, I'm fairly certain, has not got a top 3 yet this season. And Willie Morris is going to be feeling the heat here, that number 46. Now, as the run progressed in the features where we saw Willie start to make a few mistakes over the run, hopefully with it being half the laps in the sprint, he won't have as much driver attrition to face. He did have one off track already so far this event. And there we go. There's Ryan Tebow taking over the second place spot from Morris. Morris is going to fire back though on the inside. There's contact between the two. There's more contact. Off track they go, and what could have been a simple pass is going to be a race ender, possibly for the two of them. So let's focus back in on this. There's contact. There's contact. They're all out of sorts. And they just come barreling into each other. It looked like Morris was a little bit out of shape. Ryan Tebow is definitely going to be done. He takes a tow back to pit road. Morris still out on track, but has fallen back to 11th. Aguilar up front sets the fastest lap of the race. There's Reed Gibson in the number 11 hunting for third place, but he's got AJ Brenner taking a big send up the inside line. Gibson will lose one spot now in the sights and the crosshairs of Michael Fairchild in the 88. I had the chance to talk to Fairchild in the intermission, saying he was very fortunate with that yellow flag, allowed him to kind of save a race as well. Now, historically, Gibson has not used the push-to-pass until the later laps of the race. We've got 11 laps left to go in this sprint. So, again, exactly half of what we had in the feature event. But something has happened for the current points leader. He has an off-track excursion. Falls back to 6th. They're dropping like flies here at Okayama. It looks like it's going to be a solo car incident for Brenner. Maybe a little bit too much curbing, and around he goes. Thankfully, the rest of the field able to very quickly cut on through there. Now, Jaden Calloway, second in points, has been in his pit stall for 1 minute and 20 seconds now. So this could be a huge point night for both Ray Aguilar and Reed Gibson. Aguilar 4th in points, Gibson in 3rd. Depending on how Brenner finishes in this sprint race, we may see a new points leader by the time it's all said and done. Looks like 12 drivers out on track. Aguilar, we know he likes clean air. That number 1 machine finally back out front. And has a commanding 7.8 second lead. He also has 1 win to his name. That was the sprint race at Spa, the opening round. And after that, he's had a little bit of bad luck for this season. So he would love nothing more to get some momentum. Looks like we see another race forming up as well. The battle for 7th, Devin Hughes and Ben Depew, separated by about 0.3 of a second. 9 laps left to go here at Okayama, the sprint race of the Japanese Grand Prix. Looks like Hughes on the push to pass. I believe Depew is recharging his up the inside, has the lift to avoid tagging that back right wheel of Hughes. Hughes taking an evasive maneuver. Look at that, AJ Brenner back in 6th, had a bit of a roller coaster of a night. A 1:13.71 sets the fastest lap of the race. And here we go, Hughes and Depew keep the intensity up. A bit of a lockup there from Hughes. Big ups as well, Ben Depew running the Team Goon Squad logo. You can see on the inner of the rear wing. So big thumbs up Depew rocking our logo on the livery this season. As he is still hunting Devin Hughes. Making their way out in the start-finish line. That is the exact spot Depew almost got in. To the back as he's driven all the way to the pit wall. Using the push to pass to his advantage. And fending off Devin Hughes. While this was happening, we had a crash report for Antonio Bianchi, the Italian stallion. He was able to get the car fixed, but you can see him flicking it around just a little bit too much. Able to keep it off the wall. Thankfully, no other drivers around. And here's a tidy 3-car pack in the battle for 4th. It's Reed Gibson, Michael Fairchild, AJ Brenner. Now we're on board AJ Brenner. He's going to really want to try and get around at least Reed Gibson here to help minimize the points loss he's going to have this evening. And I think Brenner's going to hope Fairchild and Gibson have a pretty heated battle. And that may allow the number 80 of Brenner to interject himself into this party for 4th. Fairchild looks like he's rocking the Nintendo-backed Toyota this season. I believe I saw a Mario and a Zelda decal on the side. And also, I believe, a Wario painted helmet. But look at the big sin there by AJ Brenner. And Fairchild returns the favor. As there's contact between the two, Brenner is off track, tags the outside wall. So the elbows are out for these drivers now. And it looked like Michael Fairchild just wasn't having any of it. So there's the first contact. Let's see if I can get a different. Oh, that's going to be a good shot there, I think. So Fairchild gives, I can't tell if that was a purposeful shot or not across the bow. But Brenner's now going to be 2 seconds back from 5th place. As unfortunately Antonio Bianchi has retired from this event as well, so we've whittled it down to 11 drivers that will finish this sprint race. We're currently 11. There's still 5 laps left to go. Anything can happen, as we saw last week at Red Bull Ring. Aguilar, a 9.3 second gap over the rest of the field. That's going to be Nick Peterson 2nd, Leo Delmas 3rd, Reed Gibson 4th, and Michael Fairchild will round out the top 5. This is right now Aguilar's race to lose, as he does dip those left tires dangerously close into the runoff sand. Has to be careful here. Aguilar on the push to pass. Maybe trying to set a fast lap of the race. I think he just might have had an off track there. And this small track, drivers are still hitting speeds in excess of 175 miles an hour. That is insanely fast for how tight the circuit is here. And let's talk about our friend Nick Peterson as well. Hasn't quite had the showing that he was looking for, and I'm checking here on live timing. I don't think he's scored a point yet. No, Nick Peterson has yet to score any points. Which is uncharacteristic. I'm not sure if Peterson started a race so far. Yeah, I believe this could be Nick Peterson's first race of the season. While we look up those stats, Aguilar did set the fastest lap of the race on 1:13.47. So he is feeling mighty comfortable here. Now Craig Brick, has taken over the 10th place spot from Willie Morris. But oh, things are getting worse for AJ Brenner as he falls back to 7th. There goes Ben Depew. What happened to Brenner? Looks like it's another solo incident. I saw a bit of a lockup. That might have been from Fairchild ahead of him. Looks like he grabbed just the tiniest bit of grass or some sort of dirty track, and that sent the number 80 machine careening around. So this is going to have massive championship implications by the time the dust settles here at Okayama. And Aguilar making it look easy. He is 11 seconds up over the rest of the field. And it looks like Fairchild, keeping within striking distance of Reed Gibson as well, has pulled it within 1/10 of a second. Fairchild looks to the outside line. A very interesting corner to try and take an alternative line through. Gibson hugs the inside, very defensive. So let's see, here's the battle for 4th. Fairchild on the push to pass, trying to catch back up to the tail of that number 11 machine, Reed Gibson. Gibson's got some momentum going into this round. And the white flag will be out this time by, or next time by, I should say, for Ray Aguilar, who's got a huge lead, 11.6 seconds up over Nick Peterson. Leo Delma still sitting in 3rd. This would be his first podium of the season. And look at that, a huge send from Fairchild. There's contact, and Fairchild goes around. Boy, are the elbows out here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So Fairchild takes a lunge to the inside, drives it in too deep, tags Gibson. And now Fairchild's going to have another heated battle with Ben Depew for 5th. So Gibson is going to get the 4th place spot. White flag is out for Ray Aguilar. And now we're watching the battle for 6th, AJ Brenner. Oh, what just happened? Fairchild's wing fell off. Was there net code there? What was that? I can't tell if there was net code involved. I mean, the slightest bit of contact between Brenner and Fairchild. And Fairchild's wing just says, you know what? I've had enough. And there we go. Ray Aguilar going to pick up the win here at Okayama, setting the fastest lap of the race while he does so. Nick Peterson is going to grab 2nd. And Leo Dalmas is going to round out the top 3. What a race this was for our drivers. We're going to try and get our top 3 up here to victory lane. As it looks like it's going to be about 11 drivers that entered are going to be rewarded with finishing positions. So again, we're waiting on Leo Dalmas, Nick Peterson, Ray Aguilar to make their way to the podium room. We've got Ray Aguilar, we've got Nick Peterson, and we're waiting on Leo Dalmas. And then if he's not able to show up, we will unfortunately have to go on without him. Alex Rhodes enjoying the broadcast and the racing. Much appreciated him. And looks like we've got Leo Dalmas. So we're going to start things off with the number 21 driver, Leo. Welcome to the top 3, my friend. Is this the first career podium you've had, or am I misremembering something?
Thank you. Oh yeah, this is my first podium ever.
Well, congratulations.
Pretty super fun as well.
Yeah, I mean, a great race you had out there. You kept it clean when so many other drivers had problems. Kind of walk us through both the feature and the sprint race on what the strategy was for you in that machine.
Well, the main strategy was to pit under a lap 25, I'd say. But there was a caution. I made a mistake of not boxing during this safety car pit window. So gonna restart the pace in front, but left some spot to the faster drivers, of course. So yeah, not a bad result at all for the race, P9 and P3. Actually, I'm very surprised. Very happy as well.
Yeah, it's good to have you up. I mean, you got a 9th earlier to this season at Spa, and other than that, it's been a bit of rougher races for you. But I mean, what you've been getting faster and faster, and most importantly, more consistent in your races. Is that due to practice laps you're doing, or just pure talent?
Pure talent and things. So now just a lot of practice and yeah, practicing with my teammate on the sessions, exploit on the scenarios are cool. Yeah, that's basically the thing. There's practice, training.
Well, Leo, it's obviously working well for you in that car. It's good to have you up here for the first time. We don't get to talk enough, and you've got your first time, my friend. Who do you want to give a shout out to that helped bring home this third for you and your team?
Well, I'd like to bring out the race fan present or not on the track. Big up to Ray Aguilar, victory for the sprint. Big up to my teammate and all the racers in here, and big up for you, James, for the broadcast.
Merci, I couldn't do it without you guys, and I hope to have you back up here more often, my friend.
Thank you, merci.
Thank you. That was Leo Delmas bringing it home. And third, up next, Mr. Nick Peterson, the number 24 machine, putting the haters down and putting the number 24 on a podium. Got to be happy with tonight.
Yeah, I love to just show up and get podiums.
Yeah, we were looking through the results going, I think it's the first podium of the season. I think this was your first race of the season. Is that correct?
Yeah, first race in the Super Formula.
Well, I mean, it seems like things are clicking well for you. I know Aguilar was sweating up there saying, oh, no, here comes Peterson. But kind of walk us through that sprint race. What kind of all meshed together to give you such good results?
Oh, honestly, I was setting decent lap times, and I got away clean on the start. And then Tebow got taken out, or, they crashed into somebody. And I just had, it was pretty much just me hot lapping after that.
Yeah, it seemed like clean air in a race where we saw so many drivers fighting with traction. How often were you having to adjust the brake bias over the course of these races?
Honestly, I didn't touch it. I didn't change brake bias once.
Absolute legend. Well, Nick, everything worked out well for you. I know you've got a lot of smack talking to do after this podium celebration, so who do you want to give a shout to that helps bring home the first podium for you so far this season?
Well, I'd like to thank COVID for letting me do this race today, because I'm sick, so I wasn't able to attend my flag football tonight.
Well, good priorities, man. Glad you've got COVID. Glad you're healing up well, and super glad to have you on the podium for the first time, and hopefully we'll have you back more often, Nick.
Thanks, James.
Thank you, bud. That was Nick Peterson bringing it home in second. But up next, the man, the myth, the legend, Ray Aguilar, sporting the number 1. Welcome back to the top spot, tying Gibson with the most wins so far this season.
Yeah, back to the top spot on one of the races, having some bad luck on the rest, man. Keep getting hit and crash and all kinds of stuff in the beginning. I got to figure out a way to clean up my act.
That we've been saying it for years now, Ray, but I mean, consistency is key, and I mean, as far as sprint races go, I don't think you could have asked for a better situation for you to be in. We know you're absolutely lethal with the clean air on the front of that number 1 machine, and it seems like you proved that again, even setting the fastest lap on the last lap of the race.
Yeah, no, I think that was the trick. I mean, I think as we all know, if I get some clean air and I don't, get into any incidents early on, best there ever was. I'm gonna win these things, but on a night like this, new car, new pedals, new everything, new personality. I'm not quite dialed in there yet, James. I have to go back to the factory and do some work, put some time in on the sim, and get the talent level up.
The sim for the sim. You gotta love
Correct.
it. Yeah,
Correct.
That's
called Retro Bowl. That's the sim that I run.
God, I'm dying up here, man. This is it's
No,
got.
it's weird. I've never been to the booth before. And I didn't know, you guys have painted up here. You got pictures on the wall. There's trophy, there's a cooler with, drinks in it. I had no idea things were so nice up here, man.
Yeah, I live here, Ray. 6 days a week. We got to make this thing as dialed in as we can. Almost as clean as that number 1 on car on track. So it's been a lot of fun calling the races. Good to have you back in the top spot. And you've got the privilege, the pleasure, the final send-offs of the night. Who do you want to give a shout to that helps bring home the second win of the season for you?
I want to thank Chase Small for putting in the time with me to get these pedals dialed in. I had to really work on getting my setup right. And as always, my lovely wife and cat and family and everything else, and TGS for putting on an amazing show. You guys do awesome, and of everything in the league that gets the most comments, it ends up being TGS most nights. So I appreciate it, James.
Cool. Thank you, guys. Couldn't do it without you. Ray, congrats, and hope to have you back up here in the coming weeks.
Yep, we'll see you soon, and I love you.
I love you too, buddy. That's an always emotional Ray Aguilar picking up the sprint win here at Okayama, the Japanese Grand Prix. We saw action, we saw great racing, and we saw 2 second-time winners so far this season. In the sprint race, it was Ray Aguilar, Nick Peterson, and Leo Delmas, who got his first podium ever here at League Zero. On behalf of LeagueZero.net, my name has been James East with Team Goon Squad Broadcasting. Thank you all so much for spending your Thursday night with us, and we'll see you at the next one. Have a great night, everybody.